Hello, I'm Brigantia, Blackbird of Blackbird's Brew. Happy Saturday and welcome to Wicca 202. Let's talk about our first mineral in this series, the quartz. Quartz is a stone that comes in a wide variety of colors. It's endlessly useful for both mundane and magical purposes, and is also plentiful and relatively cheap, making it a crystal that no witch should be without. And today's video will primarily refer to clear quartz or to white quartz. It's easy enough to collect crystals, particularly smaller ones that could easily fit inside of your pockets, but using them isn't always intuitive for people, not even for people who study the craft. But witches are doers, so I am going to present a brief process to help you get started with using crystals so you could begin your journey of getting comfortable with them if you aren't accustomed to using them already. So stones, like everything else used for magical purposes, is like using a battery. It contains energy that we can draw upon and direct as we see fit. Depending on the kind of crystal, it has a different energetic personality, which makes it better suited for certain tasks than for others. That's why witches have whole books describing the magical correspondences for stones, as well as the flora and fauna of the world. Once you select a crystal to suit your intentions, the first step is to cleanse and purify the crystal and yourself. So shower or bathe to cleanse yourself and meditate before beginning your works to purify both mind and spirit. Then place your crystal in a clean container. Set it on top of a pentacle if at all possible. Pour salt into the container, place your crystal within it, preferably burying the crystal within the salt. Cover that container, let it set for around 2 to 7 days. Then take the crystal out of the salt and provide the crystal, assuming that the crystal isn't the kind that will be damaged by water. Definitely double check before you do this. But then rinse it in cool, clean water and hopefully also blessed water. If the crystal is easily damaged by water, then just omit this step. You don't. Selenite is particularly vulnerable to water. Do not damage your crystals. Always double check ahead of time. Then, once you've done this, bathe and purify yourself, meditate, and then settle down to program your crystal for its intended work. Hold the crystal up to your third eye, about so, and then visualize the crystal's energy being completely cleared. Now, for anyone watching who hasn't worked with crystals before and you might be wondering how you can tell if you're getting the job done, the best comparison I can make is that it's the difference between imagining that you're directing energy and actually directing the energy. This is the same difference between looking at an object and actually touching that object. Once you have touched something, you know it. You don't need to doubt your senses because they are reporting back to you that contact has actually been made. It is exactly the same in magical work. When you succeed in doing something, you don't have to have further reassurance because because your senses are reporting to you that the deed is done. So if in doubt, that's probably a sign that you haven't moved anything around just yet. Just keep trying, maybe experiment with a different approach. Most of us are not good with things when we try them the first time. So practice, discipline, consistency is the best way to make progress. And if it goes on for an extended period of time, say 6 months or a year, and you really can't do it, then maybe it's time for you to leave witchcraft alone, explore different parts of paganism because you may not be wired for this. So I know that's not the funnest possibility to think about, but it is something that we all had to consider and confront as we go through our paces, and there's just no way around that. But after you have visualized the crystal's energy being cleared, then visualize your aura, turn it a white light, and then infuse that white light coming from you into the crystal and just leave that crystal with no energetic shadows of any kind. This ensures the final stage of cleansing has taken place. It also charges the crystal and it smooths the pathway for your own energy and intentions to later direct the energy within that crystal. And this is the point where you begin programming. Form an image in your mind, project it into your crystal about what that crystal is intended to do. Any kind of images, any kind of words, anything that is communicating to that energy the job that it is meant to accomplish. And if it helps you focus, you might chant while you're doing this. So, chanting if you are wanting to do something for protection, just protection, 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 over and over again, and maintain your concentration for at least a few minutes to ensure that the programming actually takes hold. And then once it does, the crystal is now ready to use. Whether you are putting it up somewhere to perform a specific task, if you're putting it into a sachet, whatever use you are putting that crystal to, that's the point at which it's ready to go. Now that we have those basics out of the way, let's get into quartz's actual physical properties. To begin with, it is a mineral. It's composed of silicon and oxygen, SiO2 to be precise. It is the most abundant mineral to be found in the Earth's crust. It's extremely resistant to weathering, whether that weathering is chemical or physical. Now, as rocks erode, any residual matter is actually usually composed of quartz, which is why most of our beaches in the world are actually made of quartz sand. Quartz forms at all temperatures, and it is plentiful in igneous rock, which is formed from solidified molten rock, metamorphic rock, which is rock that has been modified by heat, pressure, and chemical processes, and sedimentary rock, which is formed by the accumulation of sediment. Quartz is extremely tough. It is a 7 on the Mohs scale. Just for comparison, diamonds are a 10. They're about as tough as you can get, the toughest known thing on our planet. So quartz are, they're not up there with the diamond kind of toughness, but they are pretty hardy. Quartz comes in almost every color, the most common being clear, white, gray, purple, yellow, brown, black, pink, green, and red. Mundane uses of quartz involve glass making, using it as an abrasive, using it as foundry sand, or as hydraulic fracturing propellant, which I didn't know that. That was a new one for me. And of course, it can also be shaped into gemstones for a variety of purposes. And these are just a few of the things that can be done with using quartz. Now for what we're really concerned with, the magical properties of quartz. That has several folk names. Sometimes it's just called crystal or witch's mirror and starstone. Its energy is both projective and receptive, meaning the energy of the quartz can move outwards and come inwards. Its function is quite similar to how our lungs work, both taking in and pushing out. The breath going in and out. If you have that kind of image in your mind, it'll give you a little bit easier time perhaps tuning into the energies and the flow of the quartz crystal. It's associated with all directions. It's primarily associated with the elements of fire and water, but because it's also associated with all the directions, you can also probably relate it to all 4 elements as well, including the non-corporeal element of spirit. It's associated with the sun, the moon, and the planet Uranus. In numerology, it is assigned the number 4. In tarot, it is represented by the magician. And when it comes to deity, you could really associate every single deity who's also associated with the practice of magic with the quartz crystal. Then when it comes to issues, intentions, and powers of the stone, think abundance, clarity, dignity, psychic energy, healing, integrity, life and vitality, power, transformation, and wisdom. Quartz is essentially a universal stone that can be used as a substitute for most other stones. So handy dandy to keep around, and of course the clear quartz or the white quartz, these are by far the most universal, adaptable stones you could possibly have in your collection. Because if you remember from color theory, the color white is not the absence of color, it is the combination of all color. So on that reasoning, if you have white quartz, it can be standing in for any color of stone. It can be standing in for any kind of job you need the stone to do. And also, quartz is an amplifier. Whatever it is you are wanting, other herbs or crystals or, little whiskers from the cat or whatever it is you're using in your spells, it is going to naturally amplify that energy if you tell it to do so. So it's good to keep around, very handy dandy. We've just really scratched the surface of this, and that actually brings us to our homework for September 17th through September 23rd. Now it is your turn. So number 1, do some research. You will find that there is lore regarding the properties of quartz and its magical and spiritual qualities all over the world. Take notes and learn everything about it that you can. 2, meditate. Hold the quartz crystal in your receptive hand and take on the role of a passive observer and allow the energy within the quartz to seep into you, and afterward journal about your impressions. And 3, think of 5 ways in which you could use quartz in your daily life and around your home. If you have a quartz crystal, decide what your top priority is at the moment and then put that crystal to work for you. We are going to start practicing and putting into action the things that we are learning about and the things we have come to believe. So we are really starting to get moving with this series. Next week in Wicca 202, we will be discussing the importance of know thyself. So I hope you will be back for that, but that'll do it for this video. In the meantime, please leave me comments, questions, concerns in the comments section below. Or better yet, go to the description box, click on the link to our Gilded group. The server is called Blackbird's Brew, and then you can come and have a good old chinwag with me over there. So that's it for today. Hope to see you again. Until next time. Bye.